You can't
This
tell.
meeting is being recorded.
Welcome to another episode of the Less is More Sports podcast.
He's going to make it. I thought I was going to get queued up at least, but today for a different Thanksgiving special edition, we're turning an old tradition on its head. And for those of you who, like us, grew up in the golden age of ESPN television, you remember every year. Pardon the interruption. Did the awesome segment of Turkeys of the Year. But because that's trademarked and we don't want to infringe on two geniuses, we're going to turn that on its head a little bit. And instead of doing turkeys of the year, people who made dumb plays, boneheaded decisions, and overall tomfoolery, we're going to make this our hams of the year. People who we're glad showed up and balled out over the course of late 2021, all throughout 2022. So we are going to be going through each category sports. We're talking coaches, we're talking players, we're talking teams, we're talking GMs. We're talking about people who we're glad are our hams of the year. So Les, why don't you kick us off? We're starting in the NFL, and I think we're both going to start at the same position but with different players. So Les, take it away.
So to kick it off, my first ham of the year for the NFL has to go with my man Justin Fields. Justin Fields is a top 5 quarterback that I have ever evaluated, and I was really high on him when he originally committed to Georgia, and was even higher when he committed to then he transferred to Ohio State. Knew he was going to learn under Ryan Day and absolutely tear it up there. Was a great quarterback for the Buckeyes in 2 seasons. He eventually gets drafted to a horrible Bears team who has done absolutely nothing to help him. But that has not stopped him, because the last several weeks he's really showcased why he is one of the most talented quarterback prospects I have ever evaluated, and he has been absolutely balling. And I hope this is here to stay. So Justin Fields is my first ham of the year.
My first ham of the year goes to another quarterback who lit it up, I guess, the past 2 seasons. Last year is like the darling story of the NFL. This year, as the leader of a juggernaut 9-1 ball club, that's right, Jalen Hurts. The guy goes to Alabama, Oklahoma, you name it, does 2 pro offenses, nominated for the Heisman. Just an amazing player to watch, and he's got Philadelphia absolutely humming right now. This season, last season when they lost to Tampa Bay, we were digging the hype, and now it's even more at a fever pitch. And there are other reasons why. I mean, I know they've got AJ Brown, I know that they've got Miles Sanders, but it's just so nice to have a breakout star like Jalen Hurts in the league. Some guy who's carrying on a tradition of really great mobile quarterbacks in Philadelphia, got Philadelphia in contention, and a guy who I absolutely love. I love the way he uses his legs. I love the way that apparently he melts the Colts defense right up the middle and scores. I mean, you've got to admire a guy like Jalen Hurts. So my first ham of the year goes to Jalen Hurts, the guy who's leading the Philadelphia Eagles back right up to the top of the NFL leaderboard.
So I guess we're going on to our next one for the NBA, right?
Yes, we are. We're just gonna zoom through these probably.
So for my NBA ham of the year, you probably guessed it. It's Jimmy Buckets. No, I'm just kidding. We all know Jimmy Buckets a baller. Hey, Jimmy Butler's one of my favorite players in the league, but no. I gotta go. Anybody who follows this podcast knows that I absolutely love these unicorn style players. And that is exactly what we got in former very highly touted recruit in Bol. I remember watching a highly touted high school matchup between Bol and then very highly ranked recruit Moses Brown. Moses Brown went on to be a very good, pretty decent NBA player. Let's keep it at very decent. Very good reserve player. He's made the roster. I mean, that's more than I can say. But I always was like, okay, I don't really get the hype. He's 7 foot, yeah, well, whatever. But Bol absolutely showed why he was head and shoulders above Moses Brown, even at an early age. He goes to Oregon, of course, gets in that, fractures his foot, really hinders his career, slips all the way to the second round, continues to have injury issues. However, he's finally getting an opportunity this year. In 25 minutes a game for the Magic, he's averaging 13 points on 62% shooting with 8 rebounds and 2 blocks. My man, Bol, let's go. And he's playing next to the best rookie in this class, Paulo Banchero. What can I say?
We had to get into Duke somehow. We had to bring it back.
I had an opportunity, and I ran with it.
You seized the chance. And for my NBA ham of the year, I'm going with in 2022, early 2022, the trade deadline came and went in the NBA. And there was one interesting move that intrigued me because it finally signaled that a franchise who I have loved for a long time, the beleaguered, the bewildering, the confused about their position in the league, Indiana Pacers were finally signaling to us that they knew it was time to rebuild. And so Domantas Sabonis was gone, and in came a guy who I am extremely talented. Extremely talented. He is extremely talented. But I'm extremely happy is on the Indiana Pacers roster, and he may make the All Star game this year. And that's Tyrese Halliburton. 20 points, 20.6 points, basically 5 rebounds, basically 11 assists this year, balling out. And I mean, nobody expects Indiana to be good this year, but Indiana is a fun team with an incredibly bright future thanks to this guy. I have seen him do things on the court that I have never seen, even the good Pacer teams would do with their guard play. And I am just absolutely excited to have this guy on the roster. And I'm okay with Sacramento taking a little bit of a wallop here because they've got enough point guards. They didn't need him. But Tyrese Halliburton, 20 points a game for a team no one is expecting to do anything. He has them. They're not going to be in contention for a while. But just the fact he's playing at an all star type level for a franchise like this during the year where they've made it very clear that they're trying to do a rebuild, it's amazing. And I'm just so glad he's on the roster. And even though this is a homer pick, I'm going with Tyrese Halliburton to be my NBA ham of the year.
I got a couple homer picks, so I got no hate on that at all.
This
Also,
is a
before
fun
we
show.
right, and beside before we go to the MLB, I have a quick question. As Bean wants to make his first appearance of the
Yes.
show, so he has to make his presence felt. You know, Bean, you're the ham of every day. You're not even just the ham of the year,
He's
but
the ham of the show.
exactly, he is the ham of the show. This is why people actually tune in. They don't really care about us. They just tune in like, okay, when are we gonna see Bean? When are we gonna see Bean? When are we gonna
When
see
are we
Bean?
going to drag him into this?
Yeah, when is the Emperor showing up? When is the Emperor making his appearance? But anyways, before I get to my MLB ham of the year, I want to ask: have you seen Tyrese Halliburton play in person?
Yes.
Me too. Okay, just making sure because it is a lot better than it is on TV. I promise you.
Yes, it's even more incredible if you watch it in person.
Oh my
So
gosh, he's so much fun to watch in person. So the Pacers got an absolute gem in Tyrese Halliburton. So, but anyways, moving on to the MLB. So it's hard enough to replace one of the better players in franchise history, but to do it in your first year, fill in for Carlos Correa for the Houston Astros, and then go on to win World Series MVP, I got to go with Jeremy Pena, man. I think the season he had and or rather the postseason he had speaks for itself. I can talk him up all I want, but it really wouldn't even do it justice. We all saw it. I mean, come on, guys.
I know championships matter a lot in any sport, and people say it don't mean a thing if you didn't get the ring. But to me, there's one guy in the MLB far and away who burst onto the scene, who's going to be part of the scene for a very long time. And I mean, you know where I'm going with this. It's Julio Rodriguez.
Mhm.
Makes the All Star game his first year, breaks the 21-year Seattle playoff drought in baseball, helps them win a series before they get knocked out by the eventual world champs, gets himself a major deal, rookie of the year, you name it. Everything short of the World Series and the AL MVP, the guy's got it. So Julio Rodriguez, just a revelation on the field, a guy who I think is going to be a perennial all-star for years to come on a very loaded, very talented, and constantly improving Seattle Mariners roster will definitely pick up a ring for them at some point in the 2020s. I'm very excited to see what direction he goes in. And to me, there is no competition for my ham of the year breakout star in the MLB spectrum, and that's got to be Julio Rodriguez of the Seattle Mariners.
He absolutely stole the show during the home run derby as well, too.
Yeah,
But
it seems like it was
absolutely.
so long ago.
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun to watch. But anyways, moving to onto our college basketball, and this is where one of my homer picks comes in. And I'm going to give it to Duke guard Jalen Blakes because the reason I'm going to give it to Jalen Blakes is because when he was recruited, he came in with the Paulo Boncaro, AJ Griffin, Trevor Keels freshman class. And I never thought he would ever get big minutes for Duke. I thought he was going to be a guy who came in, maybe played sparingly a couple minutes here and there for the next 3 years, but then for his final year of eligibility, transfers somewhere, uses the experience that he learned at Duke, and played somewhere, that he'll get a lot of minutes. He's in year 2, and he's already got a very big role with the team. He's almost a glue guy defensive gem out there at the guard position, and he's a very important piece for how far the Blue Devils could go this season, just with the energy and the tenacity that he brings. So Jalen Blakes, your hard work has not gone unnoticed, especially by this Duke fan. So my ham of the year in college basketball is Jalen Blakes.
My ham of the year for college basketball goes to a guy who did the unthinkable this year, whether it was knocking off Kentucky, knocking off Purdue, going to the Elite Eight. We all know where this is going. There was no story better than the St. Peter's Peacocks in 2020 in March Madness, and maybe even in sports in 2022. But there was one guy who carried every meme, every viral tweet, every mustache, as creepy as it looked, with class, and it's got to be Doug Eater of the formerly of the St. Peter's Peacocks. Now I think he plays for Bryant or something.
He plays for
I'm
Bryant,
not
yeah.
sure. He plays for Bryant. But Doug Eater, wherever you are, we still love you. You're a March Madness legend. Your mustache is needing improvement, but that's okay. We'll forgive it when you have a great run like that. So I kind of hate the fact that he's the guy we're always going to remember, because everyone on that team was just so good. And Shaheen Holloway, now it's Seton Hall, of course, all great coach, but everyone's gonna remember that mustache and those timely 3-point shots from Doug Eater. So congratulations, Doug Eater. You are officially my college basketball ham of the year.
Feel like the Peacocks are going to make a couple appearances on this show, but
They've
I don't
got
want to give
to.
away any spoilers. They got to. They were great story. So, kicking it off to college football, though, I'm going to go with a player that has absolutely taken the nation by storm this year and has won over my heart. And I absolutely hate the timing of this pick, but I got to give it to Hendon Hooker. I know he just recently tore his ACL, and I wish him a full recovery, because it is not only just for his own health, but it was an absolute joy to watch him play this year.
It
Tennessee
was.
has been a great story in year 2 of the Josh Heppel era, and Hendon Hooker's play has been a big reason why. He, in my opinion, up until this past week when he tearing his ACL, was the favorite to win the Heisman Trophy this year. He's absolutely just electric. I mean, he's making guys like Jalen Hyatt and Brew McCoy, who Brew McCoy doesn't even know where he's going to play college football half the time, look like star receivers. And Tennessee is just one of those teams that is just been one of those teams that I like to just cheer for that year. Team that's fun for me to watch. And Hendon Hooker is a big reason why, just because I absolutely love watching him play. But unfortunately, I think this is probably going to be the end of his volunteer career, as they got another 5-star quarterback coming in, and an ACL is very hard to come by. And I hate it, because Hendon Hooker has been one of my favorite players this year, but he still deserves my ham of the year. So for whatever that's worth, Hendon Hooker is my college football ham of the year.
Les, I'm going to shock the world here for my college football pick, and I'm actually going to go with a coach, Lincoln Riley. Congratulations for whatever you've done at USC. I mean, at this point, as we sit back, they're 9-1. They're getting ready for the big game with Notre Dame this weekend. But that West Coast football has been reinvigorated, Les. I actually dumbly said they were going to make the playoff just to be different, and now
No, I
that
did
could
too.
actually
I did
happen.
too. No, I did too.
Oh, you did too? I could
Yeah,
have
I
went
had
with one.
USC in the college football playoff.
Okay, so we both had that one, and I guess we
But
could
we
be
were
right.
both different. We're both different here at Less is More Sports.
We were trying, and we could be right. I mean, USC's defense, yes, it leaves a lot to be desired. But Caleb Williams, Jordan Addison, everybody on that offense is humming like an Indy car, and they're an absolute joy to watch when you're going to bed late at night. And it all comes back to actually having a big time coach with a big time offense. And just like that, in year one, they're already in playoff contention, and they may have a pretty good shot. So, they won't win the national title. Don't get me wrong, but they have a great shot to make the playoffs. So Lincoln Riley, great coach, great players, great transfer portal. You are the ham of the year in college football.
If USC makes the college football playoff, that'll be 2 years in a row that this show predicted an unexpected college football playoff participant.
It's true. It's true. I'm just saying.
So Our next one is a wild card. So we pretty much could just go wherever we wanted with this one, right? So
Yeah,
this is going to be another homer pick because all I heard when this was announced was just how bad, how entitled, how privileged it was for Jeff Saturday, with no NFL coaching experience, to be named the interim head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. Let's get one thing straight. Jeff
no,
Saturday is not going to be the future head coach of the
no.
Indianapolis Colts. Anyone who thinks he is just kidding themselves. This was a guy who came in, who is close with the franchise, that is very good at motivating a group of men. A guy that is coming in for a morale move just to keep the Colts from completely, for lack of a better term, shitting the bed for the rest of the season. And you know
Yeah,
what? We got the loss against the Eagles, but we got to win against the Las Vegas Raiders. And I'm gonna tell you, this Colts team, despite being 1-1 in his tenure, they look a lot more inspired than they have the whole rest of the season. I mean, than the previous games of the season. I don't know. Whoa, almost had a bad wording there. But with how much criticism this got, it goes to show why people just say things for ratings and have no common sense at all. Because for reasons, I'm not going to get too controversial on this episode because this is an episode of thanks. This is an episode of appreciation. So I'm not going to get controversial. So I'm going to be appreciative of a guy that stepped into a tough position that has motivated a group of men to actually play somewhat close to what their preseason expectations were. So my wild card has to go with Jeff Saturday. You're not going unnoticed, and was not hired just because he was
he's
Jim
definitely
Irsay.
not going unnoticed.
You're definitely not going unnoticed. No.
Les, another term for a wild card, I suppose, could be an ace. And
Mm-hmm.
this year in the WNBA, the Las Vegas Aces won the title, and they are led by one of my favorite players, Asia Wilson. So that will be my wild card for Ham of the Year because
I like it.
she already has one MVP. Now she's got two. She's part of a three-headed monster with Jackie Young, Kelsey Plum, and so many other great players out there. She won her first championship this
Hey,
year.
hey.
What?
No disrespect. Don't disrespect the point god.
I wasn't. I said they were a three-headed monster.
You didn't say Chelsea Gray.
Oh, I forgot about her. Yeah, she's actually won the MVP of the finals. So, but
Exactly. Do not
see,
disrespect the point god.
it's happening though. So, I think that's going to be not many people watch the WNBA, and I think that's going to change very soon because of Asia Wilson, just the way she plays. A great big to have down low, and that Las Vegas Aces team, they were a contender for my best team to win the title. I had to go with somebody else, but Asia Wilson, my wild card, just an amazing player. Second MVP, first WNBA championship, and there are going to be so many more to come. So, Asia Wilson, my wild card, Ham of the Year.
So before I get into my next one, I'm really glad that you picked the Aces because I was high on them from the first game of the season. I know what you just said, but I do watch WNBA basketball, by the way, and a
I
good
said
friend of.
not many.
Oh, I know. I know what you said. I'm speaking. I just lost my train
In
of thought, but
general.
yeah, I'm speaking in general. I do watch WNBA. I love women's hoops actually. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Haley Van Lith here in Louisville. Big fan of Paige Beckers. I hope she comes back 100% healthy. Women's got some hoopers, but a good friend of mine, Emily Conklin, was a former women's hooper, and her and I watch a lot of games together. Where we talk about women's hoops, and her and I from week one of the WNBA season predicted that the Aces were going to get their first title in franchise history, and they did. Like you said, Asia Wilson, Kelsey Plum, Chelsea Gray. Yeah, but that's a three-headed monster that is absolutely phenomenal. Of course, they were coached by Becky Hammon, who is a phenomenal coach. So yeah, I'm really glad that they got some love here on the podcast because they were a joy to watch this year, and they're going to be a joy as long as that trio. Because I think Becky Hammon's moving on. I could be wrong on that, but
I think you're right. Yeah.
I think she is moving on. But I think it's still, as long as that trio is intact, they're going to be fun for years to come. But I guess transitioning to my team, my Ham of the Year that did win the title, I'm going to go with the Kansas Jayhawks in men's basketball. But it's not because I like Bill Self. It's not because I like Ochai Agbaji. It's not because I like Christian Braun, David McCormick. I do like Remy Martin, but not because of that. But because they kept the team that spoiled Coach K's final home game, that ended Coach K's career from winning the national title. They kept the North Carolina Tar Heels from winning the NCAA title in Coach K's last season. So I will forever be grateful for the Kansas Jayhawks.
I get what you're saying there, but I'm going to go with a different approach for my favorite team to win the championship, which is the Golden State Warriors, man. It used to be annoying when you heard about them, but this year we had a whole episode about this, discussing, Steph Curry cementing his legacy as one of the possible top 10 players of all time. Clay Thompson getting his groove back, Green getting his groove back, the newcomers, Jordan Poole, Wiseman, you name it. The Golden State was just a fun team to watch in the playoffs. The way they ran through people, and they gave us a great series with the Boston Celtics, who just in the end, in spite of being one of the better defensive teams I've ever seen, just did not have the firepower to keep up with Golden State. And in addition, it feels like we're watching like the Golden State's second coronation. You could say what you wanted about like the first group of titles, the whole KD thing, the 3-1, and this year it felt like they exercised those demons again and proved that hey, we're just as good, if not better, than you thought we were all those years ago. And this year they're struggling. This year, meaning the new season, which will end next they're struggling on the road. There's the Draymond punching Jordan Poole thing, but all that is forgotten eventually by history. And what they're going to look at is another title for those core three guys, another step on the Hall of Fame, and another gem in the crown of one of the great dynasties that I've been fortunate to witness. So, Golden State Team of the Year, who won the championship, they are the hams in that category.
And Steph Curry is the best point guard ever. There, I said it. Okay. Now to go on for my team that didn't win the title, and that probably just gave it away right there. And I'm going to go with the St. Peter's Peacocks. As I mentioned, they're going to be mentioned again on the show. But as always, we love a good Cinderella story. Well, Colin Cowherd disagrees, but I don't really care what he says. I'm less is more sports, not Colin Cowherd. So I don't care.
St. Peter's is like a Ferrari.
Oh, he did a whole segment that actually tried to debunk that fans love Cinderella stories. But anyways, I love a good Cinderella
I
story.
know. I just always love how his analogies are like, oh, this offense is like a Cadillac. It drives well and then it stops. And it's like,
Why, well, bro? That impersonation was spot on. I'm not even gonna lie, that was great.
coming up with like a scenario or metaphors like Colin Cowherd is a really fun thing to do. But I digress.
But Colin, he's this. No, he's not. He's just this. It's stuff like that. But no. But anyways, we love a good Cinderella story, and the St. Peter's Peacocks captured the hearts of American with their Elite Eight run in the NCAA tournament. Of course, as he mentioned, as Matt's had a pick earlier with them, and of course, I'm grateful that they knocked Kentucky out in the first round. It gave Big Blue Nation a little bit of a humbling experience, and I will always be grateful for that. But no, there was a lot of good things that came out of that. I mean, they got their coach got some recognition, and of course, but they were a fun team to watch. And of course, I wish they could have beaten the North Carolina Tar Heels, but of course, I digress. So, but I got to go with the St. Peter's Peacocks, one of the best Cinderella stories in recent memory.
Mine is more of a humble brag moment because, Les, if you'll remember, after week one of the NFL season last year, I said Cincinnati had just beaten Minnesota by like some last second field goal. And I was like, you know what, Les, I'm going to say it. They have a pretty easy schedule. They beat one of the better teams, and they look like they actually they care out there. So, you know what? I'm going to say something stupid that Cincinnati is going to make the playoffs. And Cincinnati did make the playoffs. And then they won a game. And then they won another game. And then it's like, okay, they're going to Kansas City. They're not going to win that game. And then they won that game too. And they finally had the magic run out in the Super Bowl. And even then, if Joe Burrow is given one last second to breathe, he may have won the game with Jamar Chase on a walk-off touchdown. But that's for the what if Marvel series that's going to come out about the NFL. But Les, the Bengals captured all of our imaginations. They have a great receiving core. They had a great quarterback with a lot of swagger. They helped the beleaguered sports city get a little bit of its mojo back, and I almost put the Cincinnati Bearcats, who made the playoffs, in here. Cincinnati is now a football town because of the Bengals and the Bearcats, and we're all just better for it. And I mean, that Bengals team was fun. Nobody saw them coming. People who didn't care about football were even like enamored with the Cincinnati Bengals coming out of nowhere. So, Les, my best team that didn't win the Super Bowl, a team I still love watching, even though they've preempted the Colts on like most regional coverage around here. The Cincinnati Bengals, my ham of the year for a team that didn't win it all.
I'm going to change my answer actually because the team that didn't win it is going to be the Cincinnati Bearcats, the team that I predicted would go to the college football playoff. Sorry, St. Peter's, I got to give you the boot because that's one of the best predictions I've ever made.
Yeah, kick St. Peter's out.
I got to kick St. Peter's out. St. Peter's has gotten enough love on this show, so I gotta give some love to. I gotta share the love. Sharing is caring. I got to give the love to the Cincinnati Bearcats. One of the best predictions I've made on this show that they are the first non-Power 5 team to make the college football playoff. So congrats to the Cincinnati Bearcats, who are still doing well, even with the departures of all-time program great players Sauce Gardner and Desmond Ridder. But anyways, now for my next and last homer pick, and I'm going with a coach. When we think Duke athletics, we think of basketball. We sometimes think of lacrosse, and we sometimes think of baseball. But the football team has won a total of 5 games the last 2 seasons. This year, they have won 7 and are going to their first bowl game since 2018. And that is all thanks to first-year head coach Mike Elko, who, if you remember, when we did our crazy coaching carousel episode on here, he was not my first choice. I wanted someone like Dan Lanning, who is now at Oregon. I wanted Graham Harrell, who is still the offensive coordinator at USC, I believe. But Nina King, our athletic director, tends to show me why she knows a lot more of what she's doing than I do. And Mike Elko is off to a great start in his Duke tenure. He's got a very good recruiting class for Duke standards coming in next year. That's already got, I believe, 26 3-star recruits, which for Duke football, that's great. And yeah, I'm excited to see. And of course, he's helped mold one of the better young talents in the ACC. And the guy who is projected to be the worst quarterback in the ACC this year, and Riley Leonard, who has been far from the worst quarterback in the ACC. So Mike Elko has to get my coach of the year. So it's a little like my coach ham of the year, a little bit of a homer pick, but he should win ACC coach of the year at the very least.
He should. And for mine, I'm going with a guy who did win, well, I guess coach, for lack of a better term, of the year in his division. Unless when we did our baseball preview, the one division I thought was more set in stone than any other was the AL Central. And that the Chicago White Sox had that baby wrapped up, and they were going to be really good. They had all the offensive bats in the world. Didn't matter. And then out of nowhere, Tito Francona, good old Terry Francona, comes out of nowhere and revitalizes the Cleveland Guardians with Stephen Kwan, with Jose Ramirez, to a division championship and a win in a playoff series that I didn't think they were going to get. And I mean, I don't think many people saw Cleveland being as good as they were in the MLB, nevertheless a division champion. So my coach of the year or manager of the year in this case has got to go to Terry Francona of the Cleveland Guardians just for getting that team ready to go. Maybe they were a rain delay away from beating the New York Yankees in New York and moving on to the ALCS against the Astros, but that's another thing time will tell. But the fact they were there at all just proves to me that Terry Francona, deserves the award here for coach of the year. He is my ham of the year. Congratulations to him and the Guardians.
As we approached 10 minutes ago, I am now getting into my general manager of the year. And I got to show some love to a team that lost a franchise quarterback, but is still in first place of a very loaded division, and that is the Seattle Seahawks. We're looking at a team that is 6-4 and atop the NFC West, a team that includes San Francisco and the defending Super Bowl champ LA Rams. This is a team that lost Russell Wilson to, Broncos country, let's ride, BS, and now is completely shitting the bed. This is a team that has turned around Geno Smith's career because we love Geno Smith, who is now leading the NFL in completion percentage. But
He
what's
didn't write
most
back.
he did not write back. I love it, Matt. But what is most impressive about John Schneider and the job he did as general manager of the Seahawks is in their 2022 NFL draft, their first 6 picks are currently starting for them. They got Charles Cross starting at offensive tackle. Boy Mafe, I think I just butchered that. I'm sorry, at linebacker. And of course, Kenneth Walker, the former Doak Walker Award winner out of Michigan State, starting in running back. Abraham Lucas starting at the other tackle. Kobe Bryant, not to be confused with the Black Mamba himself and who Bean's named after, starting at one corner. And of course, the absolute steal of the draft at the other corner in Tariq Woolen. So congratulations to John Schneider. He proves time and time again, because if you remember, the Legion of Boom itself and Russell Wilson, that matter, were all came from late round draft picks drafted by John Schneider. So he continues to prove why he is one of the best drafting GMs in all of football.
Less for my GM of the year, I started with Philadelphia and I'm going to end with Philadelphia. And ironically, this team has no draft picks because of their GM, but it's for all the right reasons. So I'm going to go with Howie Roseman here. From completing the A.J. Brown trade to having the, I guess, perceived gall enough to draft Jalen Hurts a couple years ago now, to the way they're constantly building the roster with guys like Hassan Reddick, and even this week signing Glenval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh basically off the streets to come and play for them and have them play such a big difference in that Colts game is absolutely amazing. Like I said, it's hard to argue against a guy who's constructed a roster that's currently 9-1 in the modern NFL. So I'm gonna go with Howie Roseman here. They may not have any draft picks, but you can say that the way they got rid of Carson Wentz, brought in Jalen Hurts, acquired AJ Brown when they realized they didn't have enough receivers, got drafted Devonta Smith, and have built that defense through very careful free agent signings. That it's one of the great stories in the NFL, and that's why they're 9-1. So Howie Roseman is my general manager slash player personnel ham of the year. Guy, Philadelphia, just a nice story. Can't help but not put him there.
Absolutely. And we just got done with our hams of the year, and we got about 6 minutes to spare. So we actually ended up making really good time. Thought we were just gonna roll through it.
We did. Well, I mean, there's only so many hams you can go through before you have to give it up a little bit. So before we get any further, just to make sure we have enough time, once again, it's Thanksgiving, and we also want to thank everybody who's listened to this podcast, watched this podcast. I don't even know how many platforms we're on right now. So we just want to thank all of you out there for listening and watching, and even occasionally complaining about the way we do things on here. It means a lot that people are actually taking time out of their day to listen to me try and talk about like 7 sports at the same time and fail at like 6 of them. So we really appreciate that. I mean, there are a lot of choices when it comes to things like podcasts. So the fact you even like tune into this one, it means a lot because you picked us and we really are thankful for that. So thanks to everybody out there watching, listening, having a good time with this. And we'll be back with more content very soon throughout the year. And we're just always thankful for any kind of support we can get.
Absolutely. Matt took the words right out of my mouth, and I know Emperor Beans agrees when I say this. We appreciate any view, any comment, whether it be positive or negative, that you give on the show, because how we look at it, feedback is feedback. We love the compliments that we get, but we also appreciate the criticisms, because that's how we grow as a podcast. That is how we improve. You don't
Unless
improve by doing
yes,
everything right. You have to make mistakes. You have to fall flat on your face. And we acknowledge that we have made mistakes here at the Less is More Sports podcast. We acknowledge that we have room to grow, but we are wanting to grow with our fans. So we will continue to make good content that you all enjoy, and we will continue to make even better content that you all will enjoy even more, and even spread the word more about us, because we are thankful for the listeners we do have, and we want to spread the message to even more people to gain, to maybe just, even if you just take maybe 30, 40 minutes out of your day to listen to it, and it helps you in any which way, and maybe helps you just take a little bit of a break from reality, just listen to two goofballs talk about sports. We're welcome for it. And if you're watching on YouTube, who doesn't want to look at Bean? Come on, guys, let's be real
Look at
here.
it.
Look at him. He's just he knows he's the emperor. He just perched up on my arm like he runs the condo. He knows. I mean, he knows it's his house. Daddy just pays the bills.
At least you're honest about it.
Right. I mean, it's definitely when we go to sleep, it's his bed. It's not mine.
So yeah, so with the 3 minutes and 45 seconds we have left, I'm going to rant about Indiana basketball. So everybody hold on tight. So
Before you
they're
do that, you know what I want to hear you say real quick? Before you do that, you know what want to know what I want to hear you say real quick?
What?
Because you showed love to the Cincinnati Bengals, I want to hear you say Mr. Joe Shiesty, Joe Brr himself.
You know I can't pull that off. I can call him Joe Shiesty. That's no problem. It's the brr that gets me.
The Brr.
Brr.
Bro, I took Spanish with you. I know you can roll your R's. Stop
I
it.
can't roll my R's actually. I got through Spanish all that time without being able to roll my R's.
And you still finished with a higher grade than me. Look at you.
I'm a Spanish minor for God's sake. They never called me out for it. I guess I'm just too southern or something. But no, I can't roll. I can call him Joe Shiesty till the cows come home. I can call him Joe Burr. I can't
Joe
pull it off.
Brr.
Brr. Brr. That
All right,
sounds
so
like I'm choking. I'm
complete
choking
your
on the
rant
air.
about Indiana basketball.
Oh, there's no real rant about Indiana basketball. I was just gonna tease the fans with it. But regardless of what you're doing, Thanksgiving coming up soon. Be safe if you're traveling. Enjoy time with your family. Enjoy time with whoever you consider family. And be sure to watch plenty of the great college basketball tournaments that are happening right now. We've got the Maui Invitational happening right now. We've got the Battle for Atlantis getting ready to take off. This is the time of year where if you want to look really smart when March rolls around, you find the team that nobody's talking about, just attach yourself to them and see how far they go, and you can look really smart, or at least make people think you're smart, like I do, by watching a few tournament games, like watching Murray State beat Texas A&M, and you can actually feel like you know something about college basketball. It helps me sleep at night. It'll help you sleep at night. And also, of course, we've got NFL on Thanksgiving, even though none of the games are. Well, Giants and Cowboys could be fun. I'm not going to lie. That could be a fun game. Bills and Lions, there'll be a lot of points, but it won't be close.
Danny Dimes.
What's the nightcap on Thursday, Les?
Let me look it up real quick.
All right.
Just give me a second.
Well, you got college basketball, college football rivalry weekend coming up. The playoff spot determinations are going to start, especially with the game with Ohio State and Michigan. You've got TCU hanging on the peripheries. You've got Notre Dame and USC. That's going to be a fun one. So wherever you are, just for your own well-being, take some time out and enjoy an example of fine American professional sports. Unless, what's the nightcap?
It is the Patriots and the Vikings. I'm not intrigued with that at all.
That game looked a lot better on Saturday than it does today.
Absolutely.
So wherever you are, wherever you're headed, friends, thank you for listening. Be safe and have a great holiday.
As always, like and subscribe to Less is More Sports YouTube and Spotify channel. Be sure to follow us on the social media platforms on Facebook and Twitter. And without further ado, Matt, myself, and Ember Bean are out.
Remember, gravy is not a substitute for water.
Remember, ham is better than turkey.
That is true.